All right, welcome back to another lesson today on dividing fractions. So our learning intention today is to be able to divide fractions fluently. All right, and like yesterday or the last lesson with multiplying fractions, I'm going to show you using a picture, but I won't expect you to answer questions using a picture. The picture is just to help you visualize what's happening, because often dividing fractions can be quite removed from real life. All right, so here's one example using a picture. We've got 3/4 of this rectangle has been shaded. 3/4, right there. And the associated problem with it would be 3/4 divided by 1/4. So before I answer this question with you, I'm going to divert your attention over to the right-hand side to a different problem along the same lines. It's something like this. 6 divided by 2 is... And now the way we normally answer this is we understand that how many 2's are in 6. So we can go, well, there's 2, 4, 6. That's 1, 2, 3. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. All right. Another way we understand it is that 2 times something equals 6. So we can turn it into a multiply problem. All right. So two ways to think about it. And we can do exactly the same thing with this fraction division over here on the left again. So how many quarters are in 3/4? All right. So all you have to do is count them up. So there's 1/4 there, 1/4 there, and 1/4 there. So the answer should be 3. We know that. If we do the second strategy here, we can have 3 times 1/4 equals, and if we follow our learnings from last lesson when multiplying, 3 is the same as 3 over 1. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, that would give you 3. 4 times 4 is 4, so the answer would be 3/4. So that is the right number to sit here. 3/4 divided by 1/4 is 3. All right, so this is the way to look at it. We say to ourselves, how many of the second fraction are in the first fraction? Now, sometimes these problems won't make any sense visually, because they might be problems like with just random numbers. So 2/5 divided by 3/7. How many 3/7 are in 2/5? Really, I'm not expecting you to be able to picture that. That's a pretty nonsensical thing to picture. All right, but we're using the same patterns we learned here to answer a problem like this. So before we get there, let's have a look at how we could have done it. Okay, we might have noticed here in the original problem that 3/4 divided by 1/4 was 3. So the answer was this numerator here. Let's have a look at another straightforward one to find the shortcut. 3/4 divided by 2. So I'd have my 3/4 again there. I'd chop them into 2 parts, so there would be borrowing from the multiplying sign like that. And I would clearly see that chopping it in half gives me 3 out of all 8. So the answer would have been 3/8. So you can start to see a pattern here where the numerator is very clearly in the answer in these ones. It might not always be, because we can simplify, but the denominator is the thing that is changing. So in this problem up here, it disappeared altogether. In this problem here, it became an 8. Now you might notice that in this problem here, 4 times 2 can give you 8. You might notice that in this problem over here, that the 1 on the bottom there could have been got by 4 divided by 4. So this leads us to a bit of a pattern, which I'm going to explain. I'm not expecting you to find it on your own. So the way to do division of fractions, and I'm going to do this problem here, is we start with the problem originally, then we are going to change the divide sign to a multiply, and we are going to take the reciprocal of the second fraction. Now, reciprocal means turn over. So in this case, the 3 will move to the bottom and the 7 will move to the top. Now, you notice now that because the multiply sign has been added in or the division has changed to a multiply, we revert back to yesterday's learnings and we go numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. And this will give us 2 times 7 is 14, 5 times 3 is 15. And that is how we approach a problem. Oops, sorry. Let's see if the same pattern would have worked here for these first two problems. 3/4 divided by 1/4. So we first of all change the divide sign to a multiply, and we take the reciprocal of the second. So 1/4 becomes 4/1. Now, numerator by numerator will give us 12/4. 12 divided by 4 is the same as 3, and there is our answer. 3/4 divided by 2. So again, 3/4, divide change to a multiply, we take the reciprocal of the second. 2, you might remember, is the same as 2/1, so the reciprocal is 1/2. So then numerator by numerator gives us 3, denominator by denominator gives us 8, and there is the same answer. So you can see that the shortcuts are divide to multiply, take reciprocal, and you might want to write the word reciprocal in your book and explain what it is, or what it looks like. Take reciprocal of second, and then multiply like normal. All right, so we've got a couple of things to remember here. Division is not like multiplication at the start, but by the time you're finished with it, it's exactly like multiplication. Okay, remember that division is just asking how many of these are in there. So how many of the second one are in the first one? And often they won't be things that you can make sense of very well, but they are able to be answered. So give those questions a go in your book and let me know if you need any help.